Coding is 20% of delivery work. Making the 20% faster does not change what the system delivers. That's the entire arithmetic of AI-augmented development. This is episode 1 of AI-Native versus AI-Augmented Fault Lines series. The book is the AI-Native Software Development Lifecycle. It was published in December 2025. 12 principles separate AI-native development from AI-augmented development. Episode 0 walks all 12 at altitude. The next 12 episodes take one principle each, one per principle. This episode takes principle 1 in detail, the foundation the other 11 sit on. Whole lifecycle rebuild, not phase substitution. So what the 6% ceiling is about? Well, the arithmetic first. GitHub Copilot makes coding 30% faster. At least that's what their marketing team says. Coding is 20% of delivery work. 30% of 20% is 6%. That's the ceiling on AI augmented at the system level. Most leaders hear the number and assume the math is pessimistic. Well, the math is not pessimistic. The math is what the field measures. Researchers measure the 30% on the coding task by itself. When the same researchers measure the full delivery lifecycle, the number drops to 6 to 10%. The reason is the arithmetic above. The 30% applies to 20% of the work. The rest of the cycle sees no speed up. Walk the feature from concept to production in your head. Requirements gathering, stakeholder negotiations, architecture decisions, sprint planning, the code itself, code review, integration cycles, the test pipeline, deployment monitoring, the post-launch fix cycle, the documentation. Well, coding is one of those steps. The other 11 sit in human-shaped processes built around the constraint that humans struggle to work in parallel, hold full system context, or regenerate work cheaply. There is a second-order effect that holds the ceiling down harder than the arithmetic alone. Optimizing one step in the workflow speeds up that step and shifts the bottleneck downstream. The freshly optimized step now produces code faster than the test pipeline, the integration cycle, the deployment process, and the review queue can absorb. Downstream gets overloaded. Wait times climb. The upstream phases that feed the optimized step cannot keep up with the new pace, so the optimized step ends up starved by the work the system cannot clear. The 6% is not ceiling because coding is small. The 6% is ceiling because lifting one step inside the constrained system buys you back most of the gain in queue time you did not see when you bought the tool. Most organizations buy AI tools and assume the tool rebuilds the lifecycle. The tools rebuild one phase, sometimes two. The other 4 stay human-shaped. This is phase substitution. The Copilot license inserts AI into the development phase. The test generation tool inserts AI in the quality phase. The other 4 phases keep running the old processes, the old handoffs, the old governance overhead, the old throughput limits. Phase substitution looks like progress in planning meeting. The roadmap shows AI everywhere. The actual workflow shows the same 6-week feature cycle with one phase running 30% faster and the other 5 running at the speed they always ran. The diagnostic question is sharp. Pick up any feature that shipped this quarter. Walk the timeline from concept to production. Where did the time accumulate? If time accumulated in the design phase, the deployment phase, the quality phase, or the evolution phase, the Copilot license did not change the throughput. This is what AI-augmented organizations look like at scale. Real spend on AI tooling, real productivity claims on the coding part. Same feature, the same delivery cadence as in 2023. AI-native development rebuilds all 6 phases. Each one becomes something different. Discovery becomes context engineering. The job of gathering domain knowledge, stakeholder constraints, regulatory requirements, the quality patterns, and everything moves into queryable repository the agents read from. The context engineer role owns this repository. The output is a versioned context asset, not a Confluence page. Design becomes prompt architecture. The job of expressing intent moves into prompt hierarchy: master prompts, domain prompts, utility prompts, integration prompts. The prompt engineer role owns this hierarchy. The output is a versioned prompt asset that lives in source control, not in scratch nodes. Development becomes AI orchestrated generation. The job of writing code moves from typing into the editor to designing the orchestration graph that runs agents in parallel against shared context. The AI solutions architect role also owns this particular graph. The output is the orchestrated generation of multiple agents working on slices. Quality becomes intent validation. The job of testing moves from checking the code does what the code says to checking the running system delivers outcomes the context committed to. The AI quality engineer owns that particular validation. The output is a different question, not does the function returns the expected value, but does the system produce the business outcome the context committed to? Deployment becomes autonomous operations. The job of releasing software moves from manual deployment gates to autonomous deployment with continuous validation and self-healing remediation. The on-call page rings less often because the system already remediated the issue 6 minutes after detecting the anomaly. Evolution becomes continuous learning. The job of maintaining software moves from periodic releases to predictive maintenance, autonomous regeneration of underperforming components, and learning pipelines responding to production usage. Software stops being frozen between releases. 6 phases, 6 rebuilds. The 6% ceiling lifts when all 6 rebuilds happen, not when one does. So, what the rebuild costs and pays? 2 parts of the rebuild are hardest. The other 4 follow once the first 2 are done. The first, naming the 4 roles: context engineer, prompt engineer, AI solution architect, AI quality engineer. These are not new titles for existing developers. The work is different, the skill is different, the career path is different. Adding AI-Augmented to senior developer's title preserves the old role with marketing applied. The 4 roles redraw the work. The second, standing up the context and prompt repositories. Versioned in source control tooling owned by named people, treated with the rigor the source repository got for 30 years. Not Confluence pages, not Notion tables, not Slack channels. The repository discipline is the operating model that levers Principle 5. What the rebuild pays: compound throughput across all 6 phases. Token economics replace headcount economics. Context compounds across projects. Quality validates outcomes against intent. Then those are Principles 9, 10, and 11. 3 of 11 episodes ahead of this one. The other 8 principles are the operational consequences of getting Principle 1 right. Without the whole lifecycle rebuild, the other 8 principles are point tools bolted onto a process that still has the same bottlenecks. The diagnostic for your organization is one question. How many of the 6 phases have been rebuilt around AI capabilities versus had AI inserted into existing process? If the answer is 0, the organization is still in evaluation phase. The work has not started, the most common position in 2026. If the answer is 1 or 2, typically development and quality, the organization is in a phase substitution. The roadmap talks about AI-native. The workflow runs the old shape. If the answer is 3 or 4, the organization is partway through the rebuild. The leverage is real, but uneven. The phases still running the old shape are the bottlenecks. If the answer is 5 or 6, the organization had done the work. Less than 1% of organizations are here in 2026. The leverage is structural. Next episode walks Principle 2. The operating models defines maturity, tools don't. Subscribe so the next episode shows up in your feed. The free framework diagram link is in the description, and the book is on Amazon. The link is also in the description. The AI-Native versus AI-Augmented Fault Lines series runs 12 principles. Subscribe to follow the rest of the rebuild.